Welcome to Let's Talk Passion and Purpose, the podcast where we explore the journeys of creators, leaders, and visionaries who've turned their passions into purpose. Join your host, Nicole Thomas, as we dive into inspiring stories, uncover strategies for success, and help you take the next step toward a life filled with meaning. Let's get started.
Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Let's Talk Passion and Purpose. I'm excited because this evening I'm here with Chunbum Park, also known as Chun. Chun is an artist from South Korea, where they were born in 1991. They received their BFA in Fine Arts from the School of Visual Arts in 2020 and their MFA in Fine Arts Studio from the Rochester Institute of Technology in 2022, where they changed their pronouns. Born a male, Park likes to cross-dress and depicts themselves as a woman in their paintings. They are the inventor of the ArtBid art auction card game and run the Emerging Whales Collective, currently merged with the Office Space Gallery website, where they interview other artists. In 2023, Park began writing exhibition reviews for various online and print magazines, including the New Visionary magazine. They currently reside in Cliffside Park, New Jersey. Chun, welcome to the show. So happy to have you here today.
Thank you for having me, Nicole.
I always love hearing about how an artist's journey begins. Can you share with us how you got started in the world of fine arts and what initially inspired you to pursue your path?
So I originally was a history major in college, but on my third semester, my mom asked me to become a dentist. So I started taking all these science and math courses on top of a graduate course in history and philosophy. And I realized that I couldn't handle those courses and I was not made for those academic studies. So I wanted to really excel in something I was really good at, which I felt was art and drawing and painting, because I had always won like awards and competitions when I was in high school and middle school. So I wanted to really shine in something that I was really good at, not something I was struggling in, because I struggled all throughout high school to maintain decent grades. And so I applied to art schools and got into all but one. And then I went to Rhode Island School of Design at first, but it was a brief stay because I had some personal difficulties there, and I had to take leave after a semester or two. But I never gave up my dream of becoming an artist. So I went back to school at School of Visual Arts in 2017, and I got my bachelor's in 2020, and that's how I continued on my journey.
Wow, that's fascinating. And talk about tenacity, Chun. The fact that there was this desire to pursue arts, but you studied history. Then you were focusing on becoming a dentist. And then you went to Rhode Island to begin exploring your creativity. And even though you left, you kept going and you didn't give up. What was motivating you to keep going? What was that motivator?
The people I met in art school, in the classes, in the workshops and the camps or the summer foundation program or things like that, the programs, they were really like concerned genuinely with art as a learning experience, but also like a social tool to explore issues in society and also to express themselves. And I was just motivated to excel in this environment of high performing people. And my mentors, they guided me with such wisdom and grace and gentle guidance that I was so always inspired. And I always, when I teach or when I make art, I want to convey the same teachings or live up to the same expectations that my mentors had for me, like my professors and teachers, who guided me through this journey that everyone else before me went through it as well. It's a creative journey.
It's fascinating, quite fascinating. And the fact that you had a mentor, mentors are extremely important. Having that tribe and being inspired by others. That's crucial. Your work often explores themes of identity. Can you share how gender expression has influenced your creativity and shaped your work as an artist?
So I paint myself as a lady and I really enjoy it. I enjoy all the details and beautiful shapes and forms I put onto myself, imagining myself as a lady. And I am slowly falling in love with my own self as a lady. It's like a narcissistic sublimation. Sublimation is the process of overcoming the challenges of or frustrations of life, especially in the context of sexual drive. So the fact that I am overcoming my virgin status with creativity and expression and painting, the form of painting, is really important to me. And it's like a narcissistic sublimation because I overcoming these frustrations, but also falling in love with the new self that born out of the struggle.
Oh, and I love what you just said. Born out of the struggle, and you're able to express yourself in your work. Can you tell me more about the medium that you use for your work?
So I use acrylic paint. Mostly, I used to paint with oil, but because my mom has asthma, I cannot paint with oil anymore. But I found that at Rochester Institute of Technology, where I had watercolor class with Professor Luban Shepherd, glazing transparent thin layers of colors on top of thin previous layers of paint is a very powerful way of controlling the colors and adding depth to the paintings. So I use something called glazing liquid, or like the mediums that allow me to glaze thin layers on top, and it really allowed me to propel to the next level. And I solidify my foundation in watercolor glazes first, and then I move on to acrylic glazes, and that's how I push myself to the next level.
And I've seen some of your work, and it's absolutely amazing.
Thank
And
you.
when we talk about expression of self, are there certain colors that you're drawn to as far as making sure that you're showing up in the world a certain way through your artwork?
So I'm very drawn to warm colors because I'm a very warm person and I'm also sensitive. So if someone is cold to me, I get hurt a lot. So I love painting the figure because I'm a human-centered person who loves people. And I love painting people and myself in warm colors, or at least the relationship of warm colors. So even if there might be some cool colors, the overall relationship or the direction of the colors is warm, like orangish yellow or yellowish orange or lots of reds and things like that.
That's beautiful. And in the sense of exploring identity through art, I'm just wondering, what do you hope art collectors or someone who is admiring your work or someone who sees your work, what do you want them to walk away with? What feeling, what thoughts, what emotions do you want them to take away from your work?
That's a really great question. I think I want to depict the most ideal and iconic Northeast Asian beauty because I'm Northeast Asian. And like in Japanese cartoons, Northeast Asians are always whitewashed as westernized characters with pointy nose and blonde eyes and blonde hair and blue eyes. But I want to resist that or defy that racialization of beauty, which is the process of making beauty about race, not about beauty itself. So I want to make an iconic Northeast Asian beauty that's true to the Northeast Asian phenotype or the genome, like genetically realistic, believable, not whitewashed like Japanese anime, but more natural and realistic. And I think some people accuse me of being contradictory in this regard because I love female body with voluptuous bodies. But it is often said that Northeast Asian women don't have voluptuous bodies, but I like hybridity as well. And I think the most poignant marker of race is in the face, not in the body. So that's why I think that it's acceptable for me to draw. I don't think race claims bodies type. It only claims the face, facial features as more importantly, and the skin color. So I think that I have the leeway or the freedom to depict some ideal that's important to me. And I want to paint the most iconic and beautiful Northeast Asian woman as myself.
That's amazing. I want to ask you, how important is it to you as an artist to make sure that the representation is authentic? What does that mean to you?
So the representation must be authentic, and that means that it's not seen from a perspective of someone who doesn't understand the people or the culture, but it's from someone who grows from that culture or the struggle. And it's not superficial representation. It's a really authentic representation, something naturally coming out of the person and the aesthetics of the person and the ideology of the person. In that case, that would be the artist me. And for example, there's the concept of yellow fever in which white men fall in love with Asian women. But their stereotypes of Asian woman is always fragile and weak and submissive and like hypersexualized. But what if those Asian women could be strong and also vulnerable in a strong way, like powerful, like voluptuous bodies that are muscular, and there's so many possibilities, and I want to explore all of it.
And it definitely comes across in your artwork. It does, and beyond the facial features, but also the body structure. Exploring just your evolution as an artist, you've moved from South Korea to the U.S., studied at prestigious art schools, and navigated challenges in both your personal and professional life. How has your artistic vision evolved throughout your journey from your BFA to MFA and beyond?
So in BFA, professors nurture you and cuddle you and cherish you and motivate. So they say everything's good, you know? But once you step into the MFA program, that's when you start crying. Like
Really? Tell us more. What does that look like?
Tears come out of your eyes like waterfall. Everything's beautiful with teary eyes because professors, your work is not good enough. For a whole year, my professor Clifford one said, "This is not good. The parts don't work together. That part's off. If I crop this section of the painting, that's a better painting than the entire painting." So very harsh criticisms. Good for growth.
Right. So the harsh criticism, how were you able to push through to create such beautiful work now? How did you manage to overcome those challenges, the critique?
So I was very, very affected by the criticisms, but I only complained to my mom. I kept telling my mom, my Professor Clifford doesn't get it. He thinks all my work sucks. And I can't believe it. But then if I really believed what I was saying, I wouldn't have improved. Because he kept pushing me, I kept trying to improve and try out different methods and styles. I eventually found my style for the graduate thesis, which was with glazes and with very voluptuous bodies and colorful colors, colorful schemes. But he really pushed me to try harder and harder because if that's the thing about art is that if you get rejected from a competition, it's a call to do better. Yeah. It's not just like my work sucks. It's just that this is a contradictory situation where the winner doesn't need to improve, but the loser needs to improve and will become the winner in the future.
I really like that concept. So if you just keep pushing through, you end up becoming the winner because you're learning along the way.
Of course.
Yeah, really like that a lot. Your work spans painting, writing, and even inventing a card game. How do you see passion and purpose playing out in the various creative forms you engage with? And is there any unifying theme or driving force that ties these different creative outlets together?
I think that in my painting and writing and even inventing a game, it really comes down to finding an iconic niche or iconic special role. Like it has to be iconic and it has to be original, which means that no one has done it before, kind of. And like, for example, my card game, no one has made this kind of card game before where you have an art auction game where the critic decides the value of the artwork based on a secret rating pattern. So the secret rating pattern could be like color blue. If the works have more blue in it, higher the score, which translates to have more value for the art. So it's like, it has to be something original and iconic that no one has done before, because if not, I don't know how else to make it work, because it will be just a derivative. It will be just copy. It will not be original. And I want to make things that are original and contribute new things to society and new things to culture.
That's quite fascinating. I do have a couple of questions for you. You mentioned being original. How can someone make sure that they're original and they're not a copy? Because there's so many ideas. And this is a two-pronged question. How can you be original and then have the courage to execute? Because you can have ideas, but you're afraid it's so different. You're not sure if the masses want what you want to share with them.
Of course. Yeah. So I think first part of that is research. You don't reinvent the wheel and then find out that you reinvented the wheel. But then also, it's also, there's a fine line between being original and being a copy and referencing a previous historical precedent. So you can reference previous historical precedent, but completely make it yours. Not trying to copy what the previous achievement was, but to internalize the lessons of that product or the artwork and then apply to your own making of art.
You have your hands in so many different creative projects. What does your creative process look like?
So I'm very different from other people. Other people, they have to brainstorm and they have to format themselves with lots of ideas and then prepare all these drafts and then find the best selection, the best draft, the best idea, and refine it many revisions. For me, it comes right in the moment, like a supernova or like a big bang of idea. My father often said that my paintings look the best at first touch. And then as I work on it, it gets worse and worse. But like even for the ideas of the project, often I find the core idea, the first explosion of ideas. And then I pulled out the little revisions. Unlike other people who build up to a big product after many revisions of cumulative improvements, for me, that happens the other way. The big improvement happens first. The main core ideas take place, and then I just improve it little by little to finish it off.
That the fine tuning happens, but the first thing that happens in your creative process is that download, that explode, the supernova,
Yes.
the big bang. Then you go and you fine tune. I really love that. Do you have any advice for anyone who's listening who wants to work with different creative mediums and different creative forms, but maybe they're too afraid to pursue them? They don't know how to get started.
So I would, if you're based in New York, I would take classes at the Art Students League of NY because they are very, very affordable. They only cost like $250 or $350 a month for like a full-time class. And then their instructors are top-notch masters and master artists and instructors who have permanent connections in the Metropolitan or the MoMA and things like that. And they're just like, it's like the best school. I think if more people knew about the school, which obviously is a really famous school, but if more people took advantage of that program or the institution, then other art schools will go out of business because that's also like for the little you pay, you get so much out of it. Getting exposure, feedback from master artists.
Wow.
And it's important to find instructors who guide you through the process, not just blindly. Art is not supposed to be easy.
Art is not supposed to be easy. Tell me more about what is the thought process behind that? Tell me more about why art is
People have
supposed to be
weird
easy.
expectation that unlike math or science, art is something you just jump into, express your energy and then personal vision, and that's the end of it. But actually, the art, it's so saturated with currently many artists who want to be artists that unless it's not about out-competing other people or like fight. It's really a fight with yourself because you have to get to the highest level of excellence and mastery of craft and technique and vision and ideas that it's just really struggle with yourself. And it's not supposed to be easy because it's a struggle with yourself. It's not easy.
That internal struggle.
Yeah.
And I almost felt when you mentioned internal struggle, I almost thought of like a breaking of light, something breaking inside of you so light can come out.
Oh, wow. That's a really beautiful metaphor.
Yeah. Yeah. That's interesting. Thank you. So let's take a look at your career and accomplishments. Earlier, I talked a little bit about your card game as it relates to finding purpose in your work.
Uh-huh.
So you invented ArtBid, art auction card game. ArtBid, art auction card game is such a unique intersection of art and play. What inspired you to create this game, and how do you see it contributing to the art world and making art more accessible?
So I just wanted to feature my friend's art and my art in a game to make it.
Really?
Yeah, that's all I wanted to do. And I came up with the idea, the core game rules and mechanics, and it came out really fun and like interesting. But I think that this is a very important game that could be like monopoly of art because that's all the core. I could make this game for each and every gallery or museum in their collection. If they give me permission, I can make the same game with the artworks in their collection, the gallery or the museum. And I could make it like Guggenheim edition or like Metropolitan edition. And it can be applied to any institution. And also people will be more engaged with the game, with the artworks by playing the game because they can examine the artwork in different ways, like secret pattern, like what's the critic thinking about when they're rating this artwork? Are they thinking about colors or textures or like material, things like that? So it's really educational and informative.
That's brilliant. What an accomplishment. You also founded and run the Emerging Whales Collective, which now merges with the Office Space Gallery. Can you tell us more about the collective and the importance of building a community for emerging artists?
So this was my second or third attempt at making an online community for artists because when I was in art school, I didn't have that many friends and I was feeling very lonely and I wanted to share my art, share my enthusiasm and excitement about the art. And when I was at my senior at SVA, I lost Emerging Wells Collective. It was called something else before. And then the School of Visual Arts BFA program department chair, Susan Anker, she promoted my website on the SVA news portal. And that's how it kind of kickstarted, because that brought a lot of traffic. And I could interview many artists that I took interest in their work of. And it just slowly became bigger and bigger. And now it's just like a really cool way of having your work seen or interviewed. And I just think that for an artist, communities is everything. Because without a community, art cannot be seen or discussed.
Community is important to make sure the artist is seen and heard and validated.
Yes.
Absolutely. And your transition to writing. So in 2023, you started writing exhibition reviews for magazines. What was it like transitioning from visual arts to writing? And how does critiquing other artists' work influence or inform your own creative practice?
So I originally started off with the Emerging Wells Collective, where I interviewed artists. And from there, I had the courage of writing about my friends' art exhibitions. And then I reviewed a show just voluntarily of the Visionary Art Collective in Tribeca. They had a show, group show, about feminine landscapes. And so I wrote it. And then the CEO of the Visionary Art Collective, Victoria Fry, J. Fry, she really liked my writing. So she hired me as a writer. And that gave me courage to write more. And also Isaac Adden, who is a curator at Ethan Cohen Gallery, he met me at a gallery called David Richard Gallery in Chelsea. And he saw my writing. I showed him my writing, and then he said my writing was actually pretty good, so I should write for other magazines. So he pushed me to all these connections to different magazines and publications, and that's how I got to write. And then writing about other people's art really makes me think critically about my own work, because I get in the habit of thinking about the why, and the how, and the process. It's just different, more rigorous than just making for sake of making. So I ask why and all these questions, and I have to read the art very carefully. And I guess I'm the weakest at reading my own art, but when I look at other people's art, that gets me to a critical way of thinking.
Yeah, I love that so much. Looking at the why. And I know I asked you earlier about what you want your audience or viewers to take away from seeing your work. But if you were to critique your own work and someone asked you, what is the why? So, what would you say about your own work?
So I would say that my transgender, gender fluid desire is very almost like how a lesbian would feel about another lady feels beautiful, except that turns out to be the self, or in fantasy at least. And then it's also related to male gaze, because the male gaze also thinks of beautiful womanly body or like facial features as being like really seductive. And so it's like this close niche, liminal space territory between me being lesbian and being a male, I guess. I'm cis male, but I'm trying to I want to be a lady, but I was born a male, so I have this male gaze side of me as well. And I think that's one reason why my art often gets rejected, is because it often shows these voluptuous bodies that are not compatible with goals of feminism, which is not going to accept those kind of representation of women anymore.
Yeah.
But it's just very important to me, so I keep drawing the nude body. But also, I want to, in my own declaration of my own philosophy, I want to abstract the figure very experimentally and like break apart the flesh to abstract it completely. But I am unable to do that because I'm very attached to flesh, to soft modeling of flesh. So I get very sensuous and very detailed, and then I draw realistically, kind of, not abstractly. And that's a weakness I have. I have to break away from it.
But tell us why that's a weakness, if that's a part of the expression and how you want your work to show up. Would you mind expanding on that?
Because I think that a lot of artists already do realistic paintings, like literal, like eyes are eye, nose is nose, mouth is mouth, and the placement of everything is like realistic, kind of. I think there needs to be more distortion and more experimentation of the form and color to make completely just transform the abstract works. That should be the new direction, kind of like Frank Arbach or South Korean artist Shin Kang-ho. I think that's the valid direction for art, figurative art at least.
That's fascinating. And it's obvious your artwork is a part of self-expression and your authenticity. So your art is very personal, especially in terms of your exploration of gender and identity. How do you balance being vulnerable in your work while also creating something that resonates with a broader audience?
Um, so vulnerability is very important to me. When I was a kid and I saw this animation of like a fighting character being overwhelmed, that turned something inside me where I was like very seduced by it, even though it was like something not good, like character was being defeated. But something inside me felt very vulnerable and like I empathized with it and I saw the beauty in it, even though the character was being defeated. So I think that vulnerability is very important in terms of human sexuality because sometimes we want to willingly be vulnerable and willingly be submissive, kind of like not all submission is bad because sometimes if there's a will to it, if there's that play in it, like a performance of it, then it's just like very beautiful.
So vulnerability can lead to something beautiful.
Yes.
What role do you think art plays in helping people explore and understand their identities?
Art is like a mirror because everything you draw is self-portrait and everything you paint is a self-portrait because it comes from subjective self. So everything that's artistic is self-subjective and concerned with the self. Or you might pretend that it's not concerned with itself, but like something universal or something external to you. But even that external representation is, so in a way, it's like always art gives out information about the artist who made it. And so it becomes the most important tool for understanding our identity because life reflects art more than art reflects life.
Life reflects art more than art reflects life. I really love that.
Thank you.
So for many creatives, especially those exploring identity through art, finding their own voice can be a challenge. What advice would you give to emerging artists who are still trying to figure out how to align their passion with their purpose?
So I would say do not be concerned with making money off of art or making quick fame off of art or even comparing yourself with someone who's succeeded in a fast, quick way. Because you have to remember that the winner doesn't become the winner, the loser becomes the winner in the end. So there's this race between the turtle and the rabbit. The turtle is slow, but will win the race. The rabbit is fast, but is lazy and cannot win the race. So if you compare yourself with those people who succeed really quickly or have quick success, immediate gratification, then art is not going to be for you. But if you can be patient with yourself, forgiving of yourself, and keep pushing yourself endlessly despite the failures, then that's when you will have good, like meaningful impact and results as an artist.
It's powerful. If you had in this moment the opportunity to say something to your younger self, what would you say to maybe 5-year-old Chun, 7-year-old Chun? What would you tell him in this moment if you could say anything to him?
My 5-year-old Chun was very much nerdy and concerned with science and technology, now art and video games. I would have told myself how wonderful art is. It led me to a lifelong journey of meeting wonderful people, talented people, pushing myself to the very top of excellence and meeting so many wonderful people and like wonderful experiences. And so I would tell myself to stop playing video games and just make art. That's what I would tell myself. Because I would tell myself, do not be a consumer, be a creator. For example, instead of playing a game, you should invent a game. Instead of listening to music, you should make the music. Or instead of, I don't know, like buying art, you should make the art. Because there's much more joy in that.
But I do have a question for you. Do you believe that those experiences you had playing the video games and doing everything you did when you were younger, that was fuel and that was information that you were able to process and then eventually use to create ArtBid and your current game?
True, but not also it's also not true because games are not like art. Art leads to growth, meaningful growth. games just waste your time, and it creates like a fantasy or like this illusion of growth, but you're just leveling up a character, but that does not mean real growth. And not based on real knowledge.
And that makes sense. That makes sense. Let's look to your future. Are there any new concepts or mediums you're excited to experiment with in your upcoming work?
So back to the point about me trying to break up the flesh and break away from my attachment to the flesh, I think that I should abstract the figure much more aggressively. And so I will paint over something, even if it looks good, because it's not, I've done plenty of that already where it looks good and it's very fleshy. But I want to completely abstract and distort the figure very aggressively, like Frank Arba. Because I think he really got it, what it meant to be an experimental figurative artist.
Mm-hmm. I tell you, that's amazing.
Thanks.
We've unpacked a lot. Is there anything that I have not asked you that you want to make sure that you share with the audience?
Without my friends, I could not have made it here, Like I would just died of loneliness. And my friends really helped me come to this point. And also my mother, my father, they supported me very much, so strongly. And my brother, he's like Van Gogh's Theo, who supported Van Gogh. My brother is really nice to me. And I just want to mention one artist friend who's nearby with me today. Her name is Ifan Chan, and she's a very talented artist, and I love her work very much.
Wonderful. I tell you, we have so many exciting things on the horizon. One thing I did not ask you, I noticed that you posted that you do volunteer work. And I want to also bring that up because you talked about mentorship. You
Yes.
talked about community. And you recently volunteered. Was it with a school?
It was this Yonkers Arts, which is an art program center in Yonkers.
That's amazing. Absolutely amazing that you find the time in the middle of creating, in the middle of writing, in the middle of your card games and showings that you're able to give back to the community because it makes a difference. You are also located in a gallery. Which gallery are you partnering with again?
I had a show at Space 776 recently.
Mm-hmm.
And then I am also running the Office Space Gallery, which is a pop-up gallery in collaboration with architecture firm Lotec.
And that's amazing.
So yeah, it's very meaningful work for me.
Mm-hmm. It sounds so. Jen, where can we find you? Which social media platforms? What website, if you have one? Where can the audience find you and your work?
So my Instagram is chun.park.7, which is chun.park.7. And
Chun.
my website is chunbumpark.com, which is chunbumpark.com.
Chun, thank you so much for being a guest on the show. Any final words or thoughts for us before we leave or close?
I'm always going to be thankful for this journey I had, regardless of whether I become famous or whatever. It's like, I'm so thankful for this journey that I had because of my engagement with art and learning art and meeting the mentors and friends. This journey has been the most wonderful journey. I know that everyone who engages with art will have same experience as me.
That's wonderful. Thank you for being a guest on the show, and I hope you'll join us again.
Of course, my pleasure. Thanks so much, Nicole.
You're welcome.
Thank you for joining Let's Talk Passion and Purpose. I hope you're leaving inspired and ready to elevate your journey. Remember to subscribe, rate, and share if you enjoyed today's episode. Stay connected, follow your passion, live purposefully, and we'll see you next time.